Alright, let's get started. In this video, we're going to start our breakdown of the matchup analysis for Xiaoyu, as King is our primary. If you haven't already, refer to kind of the match analysis framework, because we're going to be using that chart to understand what our defensive options are and how to respond to kind of unique situations that Xiaoyu throws at us, or kind of whatever character throws at us. We're going to cover a few of the intricacies in the game mode right here, and then we're going to pull up to the spreadsheet that you can kind of copy all my notes if you so desire, and you can start making your. Let's talk about what's really unique about Xiaoyu, and one of the main things is her Art of the Phoenix, or AOP. AOP gets her super low to the ground, as we see right now, and she can even duck and to get a lower profile, in which a lot of King's moves that even though they're mids, are going to just completely miss, even though they shouldn't. So there's a few key moves that you can do if someone's kind of abusing these AOPs, and some of our defensive options are going to go into them. No matter how low Ling is, we can always do a crouch grab. So this crouch grab can be broken, but it's a complete guess of how to break it. But it doesn't matter how low they are within the string, you will be able to kind of try a throw attempt. We also, if we're right next to Xiaoyu, if we do forward 3, we can get this, and if you just frame the 1+2, you can then do 38 damage minimum. If you get a critical hit, it's going to do more. Oh. It's going to do more, but as you can see, even this move can kind of lift from time to time, so we're only going to use it in situations where we know it's going to happen. And then obviously any low, so like anything that actually hits low to the ground, is going to punish this, and it's just something for us to kind of know moving forward. AOP, we have the crouch throw, as well as kind of forward 3. Wall standing 4 is going to whiff a lot of the time, so don't try to do that, and I already showed you a little bit of options. Even the elbow will sometimes whiff, but there's going to be some situations that the elbow is going to be much more preferred, especially compared to this other option of down forward 2, as that can whiff in certain situations. We'll talk about some of her kind of main strings and kind of how to adapt to them. The first string that I want to talk about is from once she's in AOP to do up forward 3-1, and then she can either go into an AOP down state, or she can kind of try to cancel it out in just we actually see this set up a lot by Kana, in which she does kind of the following. The first action that she does is she kind of did, after the AOP kind of 3-1, she kind of cancels it with a 4 just to kind of keep mid pressure. Another way that you can adapt to that string, instead of finishing up with that 4, we can stay within a down state, in which we see our down forward 2 is going to whiff in that state. And so it can kind of bait us into certain situations of how to punish, and then obviously because they're ducked, we're going to whiff. But if we kind of show the mix-up of both of these options together, we have an option that we can do after the 1. It doesn't matter if she goes down, that was a down attempt, or if she tries a kick, our elbow is going to beat her out. And so every single time that we see a Link player, we can do down forward 1+2, or down forward 1-2, and we should be able to score some damage just for punishing this move. So even though the move is not really punishable per se, like with the frame data, under the normal situations, we are able to kind of capitalize on this kind of mix-up scenario. And so every single time that we see this, we can easily get 30 to 33 damage every single time. Yeah, you can score more damage sometimes with down forward 2-1, but if they do the ducking variant, they can punish you from it, and we don't want it. The second kind of mix-up that I'm going to be talking about is her wall running, and then wall running 3 into AOP, and then she does up forward 3-3 or up forward 3-4. And so how we do this analysis is all we're going to do is block, because we are negative frames, and all we're looking for is for her to do this mid variant. While we could duck under this under the last high move, it's too risky for us to basically go under it. And so if we're playing a super solid, tight game, we're going to take either no damage if she does the 3-3 variation, and we're going to punish if she does the 3-4 variation. And just as I talked about in the previous video, this is how you start doing some analysis of, okay, this is a common string, and the string can do one of these two forms, but so how do I respond to it? This is how you respond to it, is just by keep blocking and then doing a 10 frame punish on the medium hit. The last example that I wanted to show is AOP and then 4-3 real fast, which is a low attack, which looks something like this. This move causes a lot of problems, not only for king players, but for just tons and tons of people. It has a few options that we can do here. Because of the kind of the slow recovery and she's grounded, we could actually do a crouch cancel into a grounded throw, in which there's an opportunity for her to kind of break this. Or kind of our easiest option is going to be kind of this crouch dash 1, which just does 16. That does put the move still kind of positive for like Ling players should still try this out. But this is something that we can do. Unfortunately, because of the grounded state, we can't actually lit them up, even with the crouch dash 4-4-3. It's just going to do 14 damage opposed to 16. And you can, under some situations, do the people's elbow. If they're not teching, if they're not rolling on the ground, if they roll on the ground, you're going to whiff. So this isn't a guaranteed position. If you want guaranteed damage, either do the crouch dash 1, or after the full block, you're going to dash up and do a grounded throw. So with that, those are just kind of the few intricacies that I wanted to talk about with Ling. Now let's jump into kind of the actual matchup analysis data, and so you can kind of take notes of what I have already taken notes on. Alright, so what we have here is kind of the data that I pulled up. Instead of handwriting it off with my notes, I just put it in Excel so the numbers are a little easier to see. But we use the exact same kind of format and framework that we previously described. This is all information about Xiaoyu, and then I first have it broken down of her Rage Art, Rage Drive, and Power Crush. Where it hits, does it hit mid, low, low mid? For instance, her Rage Drive, it comes out low and then a mid. It's -3 on block, or -27, and so on and so forth. And then the action in which I do, in which if you're trying to maximize damage to do everything. For the Power Crush, I can't do this duck while standing 1+2 on block, but this is telling me that if I see a Power Crush, I know it's coming out as high, and I'm able to duck preemptively for it and then do the 1+2 to counter it. I then have my column, so we have the 10 frame column right here of all the 10 frame kind of punishers. That doesn't mean the move is necessarily 10 frames for Ling, but this is our 10 frame response after we block it. And we have information of all these things. For back 4-4, we know that we can duck that second high move and punish it further, but right now I just kind of sit that in my 1+2 column since that's just what we have. Then moving on, we have the 12 frame punisher column, which is all information here. It's kind of the same thing. We have it broken down, the hit levels of all this, and then exactly how we punish it. Then we have the 15 frame punishers, which is our up forward 4 option, and all the moves that are associated with it. We have a lot more low moves that we can do to kind of block, and then we have enough to do our up +4. And then we have our crouching state, so if we block low, what we can do. I didn't find any moves with Ling that on block we can do while standing 2-2. I could be wrong, maybe I just overlooked something. If you know of a move in which you can fully block and then do while standing 2-2, let me know. But all we would do is make a separate column for that and all the moves that are associated with it. And then finally we have our delayed hop kick, in which there's 2 low moves that on block we can do a delayed hop kick. Some terminology up here. AOP stands for the Art of the Phoenix, so in that crouching stance, and RDS is Rain Dance stance, which is just basically back turn, in which she turns to her back. This is when we can see these moves. And so when we're practicing and we see her doing like a lot of RDS, we can kind of adapt of, okay, now she can only do moves from this kind of limited pool, or she's going into AOP, okay, these moves to look forward to, and so on and so forth. So this is kind of the just, in general, easy stuff that you should just slowly kind of work on. Below that we have our kind of string data and any other information that we need. We already talked about that while in AOP we can do a crouch throw. We can also a lot of times do forward 3 into just frame 1+2 to do a minimum of 38 damage. So that's kind of just extra information that we have. And now with kind of string data, a lot of strings we can just analyze of what to do. Not every string is on this list because we are not tracking a string that we don't have an action for. So if all we can do is kind of block after the first move and then we can't punish at all, that string isn't going to show up on here. What's going to show up on here are if we enter a string, look for what to do and then the specified action to do it. So for instance, if she's an AOP and she does the 2-1 and then does a back turn a lot, we can get a guaranteed down forward 2 off of that. We can't get the natural combo of down forward 2-1, but we can get that quick little mid poke and put some damage onto her. Doing down forward 1 is actually a little too slow and you're not going to get it off. That's why down forward 2 is there. And kind of the same thing as we continue on of exactly what to do. When I have it written down on paper, I showed how to bracket and just kind of use triangles or whatever to have, okay, this is my pure strategy, and this is what the blue and kind of green is showing. So in the instance that she's doing AOP up forward 3-1, which we showed in the video, we're always going to respond with down forward 1-2 after the 1 in that string, and then it's guaranteed damage every single time. The same thing that in the string of AOP up forward neutral 3, either she can go directly back into AOP or she can go into a standing state. This allows us actually to punish in both of these situations to do forward 3. Yeah, in some situations it's going to be better to do back 1-2 or to even a hop kick or something like that, but this is just consistent damage overall, and so we have less guesswork because we already know what we're going to do no matter what her response is. And then finally we have these two, which kind of follow the exact same logic, that we're just going to block until we see that mid variation, and then we're doing a 10 frame punisher of 1-2. The other kind of non-pure strategies talks about a lot of the low variations, in which we either say like we can duck even after the first low hit, in which then we can still do wall standing 1+2 for full punish, or wall standing 4 for a punish. We talk about what moves don't jail, meaning we can duck afterwards, or we can change our standing position, and just any other information that we have. So for instance, what's really interesting about this full crouch down forward 2-1, that we can block this first attack and then we can parry the second one, in which then we can do our low parry punish. If we are hit and then we can block the second one, we can do our wall standing 4 punish. So that's something really interesting about that move, that if we block it, we can punish, but if we even block the first one, we can do low parry for an even bigger punish. So I just quickly ran through everything and kind of set up a few of the situations in the game mode. Hopefully this was helpful for you guys, and I recommend just kind of pausing the video at the different. So with that, this was kind of the defensive analysis of what moves we can look for, and how we use this again is we would already have this kind of in our notebook, and so if we're sitting down with a Ling matchup, we already have all the information of all of her moves that are bad for her, and so we know exactly how to punish her appropriately or how to get out of a string situation appropriately. Hopefully you guys learned something today. If you liked what you saw today, make sure to hit that subscribe button, and we're going to see you guys next time. Thanks for watching.